I think there's 3 or 4 of us now.
Then
I was more just curious whether or not you saw it, because it's much easier to notice something like that when you're not playing.
Oh
Yep.
yeah.
Well, I mean, and also, if he had double symbol in hand, I wouldn't have seen the second symbol.
No, I mean just double Tren activation.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was an on-board one. That's why me and Fuzz were losing our mind.
Yeah. I'm actually I'm going back to watch the stream now because I had it turned off, and I'm in the middle of watching game 2 when he just shoved my shit in with big creatures.
That was great.
Yep. I mean, I knew that was likely to happen. He had 2 decks that could force a win, so I figured I'll try for the one that's probably more inconsistent, but I knew I was going to have to win 2 on the Kayenu most likely.
Yeah, the kind of mirrors were interesting. Although I think and this is a deck which I think you've played a few times in Masters now. This the Burning Rage
Yep.
like life gain deck.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think you're gaining a reputation for being that guy now. I think the Order Burning Rage guy.
Well, I mean, I've only played in 3 Masters, but I've played this in 2 of them, so.
It's a start.
Yep.
Yeah,
I'm
win one.
I'm new enough that I can remember what I've played in all 3 Masters. First Masters was it was basically Corruption Burning Rage, only I didn't have any Burning Rages at that point, so it was just a bunch of Rage control spells and Corruption control spells, and then Red Rush and Stallion Aggro, and that was 3 points. And then last Masters I ran this, I ran the Burning Rage, and I ran Artifacts, and I ran Scatador Heal, and that didn't work as well. And then this Masters, obviously.
Well, it's pretty
Scatador
good
back
spread
when
for-
it was the very fun variety. You know, just play it and then just chill for a while.
Wait, which one?
The one that just like either you could either gain life or burn them based on the amount of mana you spent, or like the amount of mana they spent. At first it was both, and we were like, nope, that can't be a card.
Scatador's bidding, right?
Oh,
Bidding,
I'm talking about Scatador.
He's talking about
new Scatador.
Yeah,
the
new
creature.
Scatador. That guy is really fun to play with, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so crazy. I think I remember watching that actually, because I had to. I think I dropped out of the Masters and watched some people afterwards. But yeah, Scatador is so good if you get it working.
Yep.
Operative word being if.
Yeah. That's why I ended up giving up on it. Is 'cause when it goes off really, really hard, but it doesn't go off with any consistency.
It's like playing a creature combo deck. It's really weird.
Yes.
It dropped to study. Oh yes, that was in the middle of my exams. Right, I remember that. I actually did. I had an exam the day after, not the day after, 2 days after. It was on the Monday. But yeah. Oh jeez. What do you think of actually, I think I was going to ask you about this. So cuz I exported all the deck lists so I can look at them.
Mhm.
The Dominion deck never actually saw you play because there was a lot of Dominion decks, but I think you had the most top heavy by a country mile.
Yes, this is likely.
4 Karthus, 4 Devourer. How did that work? I'm actually curious.
It works really well. You know, this Masters, I believe it won every game it played. In ladder, it's kind of been my go-to. I mean, it loses really, really hard to Rage Rush, obviously. But especially in Conquest, when, you know, I was just going into this knowing that if I see Rage Rush, I ban Rage Rush. That's not a huge problem.
Yeah.
Other than that, not a lot can get under it because it ramps so fast. Cause like, you know, Zombie Rush with the chicken and the Aemon, that's about a 50-50. It depends on who gets the right draw, and I don't think there's anything else that can get under it.
I think that chicken deck hasn't been that popular recently either.
Yeah. The other
makes sense.
the number 2 aggro deck floating around right now is the Enoch Sacro one, which because they take 2 turns before they get going, that's plenty. Dominion's off to the races, and they can never get back into it.
Yeah, I think Mono Dominion right now is probably the best deck. I think almost everyone played it, but they all different versions. I think you probably had the most out there version. There was most people played Assassin's Guild versions.
Yep.
A few people played the like Splash Corruption for Curse of Risha
Yep.
type thing. But yeah, I think almost everyone had at least one of those decks because it's one of those things where it's not just good, it only uses one color.
Yes. Yeah. If I was gonna add mine, like if I had room for one more card, it would be the Shadow Step Assassins. Those are the ones that right now don't fit, but I wish they did.
With Assassin's Guild, definitely.
Yeah, because I do have Assassin's Guild to play off of all of the Scarabs and the Power Lusts. I wouldn't go Raisha. It just makes leveling more complicated than it needs to be.
For 4 levels, that would get really hard. Yeah, the Raisha decks are like strictly 3rd level decks. I think you're maybe the only person who played a 4-level Dominion deck, actually. I think everyone else stopped at 3. I think, what was the other thing? Oh yeah, here's another card which I thought I'd see more of, but I think you may have been the only person playing it, was Steel Nor Innkeeper in Kayanu.
Well, there was just not a lot of order
Dwarves.
decks going around, really.
There's a lot of Kayanu decks.
Yeah, those didn't run it, which was surprising. I think if you're running with the order setup, you should run Innkeeper. It helps with walls. It helps with like incarnates. Instantly kills them. It's a pretty good card.
Yep, Sharpshooter as well. How's Sharpshooter been working? 'Cause some people have been playing it, some haven't.
Mixed bag. It doesn't really help that I only ran that because I didn't have enough colors left to run a 3rd control deck. I am a control player, so
It's a dangerous territory to be in Conquest.
yep. But it gives you a lot of ways to just interact with the board immediately, because the only other kind of impact card that doesn't have to spend a turn being dizzy before it can make things happen is Primal Battle. So just getting another thing in there that you can use to change the combat math before your opponent can react is really helpful. That's the big use I've been getting out of it. I'm still tinkering with that.
Makes sense. The Soul Projection did some work from what I could see as well.
Yeah, Soul Projection. That's a comeback card. The downside of it is obviously if you're behind, wiping doesn't necessarily bring you back into it. You may just be less behind than before.
I think the big difference, at least in the finals, the big difference between decks seemed to be instead of Pegasus Regiment, which you're obviously playing in the Burke deck,
Mm-hmm.
in the Kaino you had Spore Shepherd and Reincarnation Spirit.
I see.
So that was kind of your grind.
Yep, I see Reincarnation as that. That's the substitute for the Pegasus. Is just
Well, it's
card
nice to
value.
be able to just get a second copy of it, and double trigger with Diogen is nice too.
Yep.
Out of curiosity, actually, because this is something that I've always thought about after Masters, regardless of how things went. Were there any decks you played that you felt were a bit dodgy?
The Kayano deck.
Right.
Yep. The other two, I'm very happy with. I've been running those two for a while in ladder and in tournaments. I know I can win with those. I know the matchups I need to avoid with them. I'm very comfortable with both of those. The Kayanu deck, again, I ran out of colors to make good control decks out of, so it's just like, well, it looks like I'm gonna try and pretend to be a mid-range player.
It felt a bit like funny thing actually, because I was kind of expecting that response at least, because in the finals we had an interesting situation where it seemed like, because both of you were playing Kayanu decks, and it seemed like when you weren't playing Kayanu decks, played a lot better than when you were playing the trend deck.
Yeah.
it's kind of strange. Juggling emblems on Tren is more confusing than you'd think.
Yep.
Um,
It's
but
the deck I
yeah.
have the least experience with, and it's the archetype that is not my home turf. So I'm not surprised that I made far more mistakes with that one than in the other two.
I mean, it still seemed to work pretty well.
Yep.
But yeah, it is pretty much a quintessential mid-range deck right now. Like in almost every way. Um, Sort of that kind of play 1 or 2 cards a turn, grinding out instead of big power plays from control decks and value plays.
Yep.
But what is your best chance against other control decks, though? Like, if you want to deal with aggro, the Symbol of Faith is a pretty good answer. But how do you deal with the grindy decks if you don't play, for instance, Pony Brigade?
Uh, in the Kayano, it comes down to blocking them off with Tren and then Reincarnation Spirit. I'm still working a way to try and fit Sunblessed and Namir's Emissary into there, and I think I'll probably end up with those in there.
There's actually a lot of people played Sunblessed Emissary decks, so you may actually want to go dredging
Yeah,
through some deck lists to see.
that
No
was more
one played the
common
same list.
than
I think
the
there's like
Spore
8
list.
versions of this.
Yep.
And it makes some sense. It's perfect target for Kayano. You can get ton of value with some good blessings. I think we're just like one good blessing away from that being like a serious deck.
It is good. I just found it interesting that the Kayanu like ON deck showed up so much and almost no one played the same version.
Well, there's a lot of variants to it. Like a lot of different cards you could include. Sharpshooter, Pony Brigade, Symbol of Faith. I'm not sure there's like a definitive best list.
Actually, question from Ginger Raven for you, Wildblade.
Okay.
You mentioned that you ran out of colors for a third control deck, but you weren't playing any corruption cards.
I have a number of corruption control decks, but they all rely on Rage, which I had locked up in Burke.
Huh. So
Oh,
you
you
don't
don't-
actually have a mono corruption deck.
Yeah, you don't want to run Mono C?
I have a Mono C deck, but I don't like it. Since Cleanse came out to counter Tombs, it lost a lot of its staying power, in my opinion.
Hmm.
I wouldn't say that it counters it. I mean, you can just instead of DOing your tomb, you just keep an extra copy and just because it only costs you 3 mana.
It definitely flipped the Dominion corruption matchup.
Yep.
That's for sure.
It's again, I'm not going to say it's a bad deck because it's not. I just don't see it as high firepower as some other stuff. So, I was actually monkeying around with a Corruption Wisdom deck before Masters, but I couldn't get that one to run the way I like.
Sashlar getting trolled. Ha 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 ha. Is it Sashair? Is that how we're supposed to say it?
I
Is it
guess
Sashlar?
it's Sashair, I think, based on what he's running.
Apparently it's Sashair. Apparently
Well-
that L is an I.
Bro, why did you make it uppercase I? That you're just confusing everyone for
I
no
always
reason.
thought it was Sasha and then like the first 2 letters of his last name or something.
Yeah, the way Ifco does it. But no,
Yeah.
apparently not.
Yeah, Sasha LR. It is the first letter of my last name. Wait, so it's Sashay R?
I guess it starts with an I suppose, like IR or something.
IR
But
slash
then
R.
you would have been better served by including like something like a hyphen. Because
Okay, enough trolling of Sasha.
we could do this all day.
Oh jeez. Now what else did we actually see here? Who did you end up playing against, by the way?
I had a bye in the first round. I beat Freebie 2-0 in the second. Lyris was either 2-1 or 2-0 in the third. I can't remember. And then Dobby in the final.
So, Lyris, do you remember what you banned against him? Was it the
It was
one-turn
one
heal
turn
deck?
heal. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
makes
banned the
sense.
1-turn heal. And then it was 2-1 because he beat the Cayenne deck with something with a control deck. I ran out of cards because he kept killing them all.
Yeah, because he was playing triple control. Mono D with baseborn recruits, which really threw us off.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
seems
'cause
like a weird one.
And like Chalice, he was going full in that regard. I'm not
yeah,
surprised that
that's the
Lyri's
one I
just playing Chalice.
yeah I beat the Dominion one twice with both of my decks. His other deck beat my Kaenu deck.
Oh, I think that was a Burning Rage deck.
Yeah, yeah.
We saw,
Yeah, it was.
we saw
Not many
like
people
a
played Burning
variation
Rage.
of Rage Rush featuring Burke, I think among 2 different players.
Yeah,
Hmm.
Ginger and Dobby both have Rage Rush Burke.
With the blue raiding party, and I think the Ancient Ruins for some extra card draw. And Timea.
Yeah, I think Ginger's version is a little bit slower. It kind of rides the border between aggro and mid range, whereas Dobby's is just full on aggro.
Hmm. There was a Gigantodon Rage deck as well. There were quite a few Rage decks. I think the funny thing about Rage Rush is I think your method of just banning it is another way around it, where it's one of those decks that it's very hard to beat Rage Rush twice
Unless you're
without
hunting
them
for it.
just like accidentally winning a game.
Yep.
So I think a lot of people that played Rage Rush went 3 points. And then I mean you just banned it. Because it's the funny thing is I don't actually think Rage Rush is all that great right now, but as a conquest deck, it's one of those things where if you flip a coin twice, you
You're gonna
often get at least one heads.
Yep. Yep. And the other thing is that if you build your decks in such a way that they can handle Rage Rush, and a lot of times that really ties your hands in regards to handling other things. So
Hmm.
it's, at least for me, it's easier to just, ban it and not have to have all my decks lean into the early game to be able to handle it.
Yeah, not have to deal with the nonsense.
Seems fair.
Yeah, I mean it makes a lot of sense because there are certain cards that are amazing against Rage Rush, but are pretty bad against other things.
It depends on the deck. For Kaenu, for instance, Symbol of Faith is good, like, even against other decks, just as a combat trick, even.
Yeah, depends on deck space, because as that's the thing about Kainu. I think everyone ran into the deck space wall. Just trying to fit in everything and not being able to, because there's so many options right now in that color combo. Like we even saw a Knight Escort.
That was interesting.
I'm kind of disappointed we didn't see any Knights versions, by the way, because there's a Kainu Knights deck, which is kind of crazy.
With Namir.
There's a lot of Kainu decks, but I was a bit surprised to see that many of them, to be honest. I was expecting one or two, not like 6. Almost everyone we spectated had it. I don't think... Did we get to watch Freebie? I don't think we did.
No, I don't think so.
So apparently what he was playing, and this will probably ring some bells. Apparently he was playing a...
He had Reanimator, an Advanced Despina Order Dominion thing, and I don't know what his last one was.
It was a Kainu... Oh no, I think we did watch him. Kainu Angelic Temple, like, heal deck.
Mm.
Basically priests with Kainu instead of Hermelian.
I think that was what I banned.
I guess probably for Diogen, right? You
Yeah.
could still use Hermelian if you just use one Trigon, but that's always iffy.
I think it was for Diogen, and then, yeah, because the Tren thing, and also... And Tren. That was the big payoff, I think. If you ban that, and then Dominion... Wait. This is just an OD pony deck. Did you play against this? I'm actually curious how it went.
I ran right over it. He didn't last. He didn't last long enough for me to figure out what he was trying to do.
Wow.
Because the funny thing is, like,
Savage,
okay,
bro.
OD Ponies has not been around for a while, and I'm kind of glad it's gone. That was a monstrosity that needed to be put down, I think. But yeah, I was actually kind of just,
Yeah.
yeah, I ended up playing 3 innkeepers, 3 Chalice, 3 Exorcism? I'm guessing he just didn't draw that well early game, so he couldn't actually get anything off the ground.
Because what happened was I had, I played, I sparked into Power Discharge, next turn put down Scarab, turn after that another Scarab, and then just made the Scarabs bigger and went face, and he never did anything to make me stop doing that.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Also, you mean Power Surge, not Power Discharge.
Yes, Power Surge.
Yeah, Dominion Ramp mirrors can sometimes just turn into Scarabs running people over.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. It's actually quite hard to deal with. You need to, like, print her. Yeah, okay, makes sense. I think the other deck he was playing was a Reanimate deck,
Yeah,
which...
he had Reanimator, which lost to Burning Rage, and that one wasn't a blowout, but it was also not particularly close. I was comfortably in the driver's seat the whole time.
We actually, I think we watched Freebie maybe once with that deck, and I think he was playing as Dobry. And I think he got, like, his setup cleansed and just got run over.
Somebody was playing,
But Dobby and I wouldn't have both played Freebie, I don't think, because we were both in the top half of the bracket the whole time.
No, that's true. It must have been someone else.
Yeah, because there was a lot of Reanimator floating around.
Dobry played against Reanimator deck for sure, but maybe multiple people played it.
Oh, was he the one that played that one cleanse that just completely destroyed his opponent?
There was a Reanimate hand with one method of discard, and then the Bezarok just got cleansed when it was in the graveyard, and the game ended.
I think Shislin and Sensi Juice both also had a Reanimator.
Would have been Sensi, I think.
And then there were a number of Wisdom controls, or Wisdom corruptions that I didn't get to see enough to know if they were Reanimator or something else.
Something we didn't see was Mono Blue. I think Mono Blue was just absent from this one.
Yeah, artifacts. There's too much artifact hate rolling around. It spiked the meta, and so now everybody's running artifact hate. So now it's on its way out.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot more detonates these days.
Yep. And then the energy version of Mono Blue, I don't think it was as strong. It had too many moving pieces, I think.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Like, I think the version I settled on a while back was kind of, it wasn't full on artifacts, but it relied on that Steel Sentient like game plan.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that's probably the best thing you can do in Mono Blue right now. Because you only need one.
Yep.
But if there's enough artifact removal and Fireball as well, and Fire Blast cause some issues. Unless you, well, okay, they kind of do unless you have other things, but Dragon Fire just annihilates that kind of style.
Suffocate is the worst because you can electrostatic armor and get out of range of a lot of stuff, but Suffocate doesn't care.
That's true. I think, yeah, there was actually quite a few Suffocates around this tournament, I think.
There was some Zieras. Remember those?
That was interesting. Yes, we had a couple Zieras floating about as well.
Off of Reanimator decks?
No, it was actually just a Corruption deck instead of Bezarok.
Oh.
There was Reanimate in it too, but it wasn't like a full-on Reanimate deck.
I think there were 2 decks. There was a Mill deck that had it as well, which had rather interesting combos between like Ziara and Instant Death Vultures and in Still Life.
Oh yeah, Lucy. That was Lucy. He was talking about that one in Discord before things went.
Yeah, it's got Lucy's name all over it when it comes to design. Kind of janky, but does crazy explosive things. But yeah, I think it was a good tournament.
Yeah. I may be biased, but I had fun.
Nah, you have a completely objective point of view, clearly.
Like, that final was rough to cast.
It was rough to play in. Especially that last one.
We kept screaming, Fateful Day!
Yeah, what did you have against Fateful Day? I know you didn't need it, but what did you have against playing Fateful Day?
it was just it was never worth spending a turn to do it because I never saw a lethal that would get me out of, and
True.
it was much more important to keep his board under control than to spend a turn getting myself a cushion.
Well, I mean,
was
it was
waiting for
plus
you to
7
die to,
life,
like-
though. I wouldn't call it a cushion. That's a lot.
Yeah,
I was
but the
waiting
thing
for you
is,
to die to like a sharpshooter CFC out of nowhere.
yeah, but the thing is, his deck had no burst in it because
Yeah.
remember we played before, so I was pretty sure he didn't have sharpshooter, because I
True.
thought I was likely that I would have seen it in the prior match, and I knew he had CFC, but I never left him. I don't think with a situation where CFC onto the board would give him lethal.
No, you didn't.
So it was always just I would really like to play Fateful Day, but I have to control his board, and then after his board is controlled, I don't have enough mana left over.
There was a couple of that game was really rough to watch on our end, mostly because of trend mismanagement on his side. Yeah, it wasn't just you two, by the way. It was like the whole tournament, people just putting trend emblems all over the place. But there was I think a situation with a Namir'd Tren where I think if he just left on 3 emblems,
Yeah, because
he would have been in a good spot,
Ray of
but he
Righteousness.
didn't. Yeah, so I think once that had happened, I don't know how that matchup works in general because I have no experience with the Burning Rage like deck at all. Yeah, it's not quite as bad as One Turn Heal where I have like negative experience, but like I have no idea what the matchups work out for that. But I think once that Namir's trend was gone, I think that was probably when you just had the game. Because I think from there, I don't think there was ever a time when he could present a board where you couldn't just deal with it.
In the Kayanu mirror, I think a lot of the misplays were based off of there was never just a trend on the field, or very rarely. A lot of times each of us was trying to get our trend big enough to deal with the other guy's trend, and
Yeah.
so too focused on that and not on what spells we were shutting down.
And
yeah,
Dobry's let his die, I think, early on as well.
Yeah, he said it was a misclick, though.
But yeah, if I were to play Trend versus Burning Rage, I would shut down either 2 mana or 3 mana, depending on what the exact board state was.
What is the interaction with Tren and Burning Rage? Does it actually prevent them from being played?
Yes. So if they're on top deck, they can't be played through Trend.
Interesting.
So it depends.
I didn't
what do
know
you
that,
want
actually.
What do you want to shut down? Fireball and Symbol, or Dragonfire and Ray and Cannonade?
I think once you get Namirs on it, you want to shut down 3 because Ray is the only way to remove the Namirs.
Cannonade if you get a clear board.
Yep.
And then he's basically just 7/7 that's pretty much unkillable.
I think once that happened, the thing was you also had a setup where this is actually one of the things why that Burning Rage deck is quite good is the Tortured Orcs let you deal with Namir's Blessing targets whenever they're trying to attack.
Yep.
Because you've got that ability to basically turn them all on by detonating.
Or Pony Regiment. Pony Brigade. Yeah, the Pony Brigade is my twist on this deck. I don't know of anybody else that runs Pony Brigade in Burning Rage.
I love Pony Brigade, like as a general card. It's been around for ages and never sees that much play, but is always quite good in the decks it's played in.
Yeah, well, 6/1/1s are not that easy to deal with if you don't have like a specific card.
Yep. And they turn the orcs on as well.
Yeah. Especially because you can end up with like 6 of them sometimes, can't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. But that deck is like I'll say from experience, watching that Burning Rage deck is quite fun. Playing against it,
Yes. Yep.
Like it's a lot more dynamic than One Turn Heal to watch because of the randomness of the top of the deck. But playing against it is miserable.
Yeah. And I mean, again, control player here. The only reason I didn't run One Turn Heal is I needed the raise in this deck. And since I had Cleanse in Mono Dominion,
You monster.
I didn't have enough spell removal to cover all the decks.
Heard it here first. If we ever get more than 4 cards in Conquest, there's gonna be a Burning Rage 1-turn heal. Oh, jeez. I don't know. Like, yeah. Cleanse meta right now.
It's the only thing to shut down so many value engines unless you're playing green.
Yes.
Yeah, it's
one of the only answers
really,
to
really
spells, which is, I'm glad we have it, but maybe like would be nice if there was something else, right?
it's a bit too good at what it does.
Well,
I don't think
I don't even think it's that it's too good. I think it's that it's the only thing that can do that. Because
it's the only thing. I think thing is, I think it actually is too good at what it does, because once you have 5 mana, the fact that it's instant, draws a card, doesn't kill the creature, gets rid of spells and artifacts, like it's the only way to win grind matchups against like Enoch, Tombs. It even goes parity with Grand Reunion, which is impressive. But yeah, cleanses everywhere. I don't think a single person played less than 4. I think every single person had 4. I was waiting for that one person to have 1 in each deck and then just not play the 4th copy just to be that guy. But I think everyone had 4.
Oh, bonus points for cleanse. The creature goes back to your deck if it gets helmed, so it's like a counter to stealing effects.
Depends what you're helming, because that sometimes isn't relevant. Depends. In fact, sometimes it's a bad thing, because it means they can advance to Spina the same creature.
yeah.
But anyway, you just cleanse the helm.
Well,
yeah,
I mean, you
just
can do
cleanse
that too, sure. But that's the same thing as just sending like some other spell at it, or barking it. But yeah, it's like it seems like nature has the only like reliable spell removal, and all the other aspects. I guess Ray, but Ray is like meh.
Yeah, Ray is pretty niche and pretty slow. I mean, it's a great card, but it's niche.
Mm.
And then nobody else has that I can think of spell or artifact removal that isn't just kind of terrible. I mean, Dragonfire is decent artifact removal, and Detonate is okay in some decks. But like Herald, is that card even a thing?
Not really, unless you're playing demons.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I don't, Gnome Power Engineer. Is
that still exists?
Gnome Power Engineer has had its time back when there was no other way of dealing with anything.
Yeah, but just there's so little good answers to spells and artifacts outside of nature, and that's why cleanse is so dominant. Because if there were other options over cleanse, I would take them, because 5 mana is really clunky, even in the Dominion ramp deck where mana is as little of an issue as it's going to be anywhere. It's still awkward to pay 5 mana to get rid of a 3-drop or a 2-drop or whatever. If there were cheaper options that maybe don't affect creatures, I think those would see a lot of play. So something like a 4-drop, a 4 mana or 3 mana that's cleanse only. It can't hit creatures. It can only hit spells and artifacts. I think that would see a lot of play.
Probably if it was on. Yeah, because if it was on a creature, then it would still be useful. Because the main problem with spell and artifact removal, and I think the reason cleanse is so good is because, well, one, it draws a card at instant speed, but it's never it's not always good, but it's never dead.
Yeah,
it's also an ancient. But the problem with a lot of other ways is that like Unicorn is a decent stat line for that cost. Bark Convoy is kind of possible. But then once you leave nature, it's like there's the Goblin.
Goblin's pretty meh.
And then there's like the 2/1s, which are pretty awful for their stat line. Like you compare Gnome Power Engineer to like Elite Vanguard, and it's kind of depressing.
Yeah.
You give up three stats for a very niche ability. And Herald of Despair is even worse. Unless you're playing demons. Then it's fine. But then you're not playing it for artifact removal. You're playing it to like destroy your own port.
Well, reset it specifically.
Reset it and then maybe destroy it later if you need to.
Yep.
Yeah. So Herald is net. I don't think Herald has ever been put in someone's deck because it's an answer to like a lamp or something.
Yeah, no, they use Underworld Scourge for that.
Yes.
Well,
And
that
Underworld...
couldn't hit lamps, but yeah, at least Mr. Sticks is like got a wider variety of uses.
Yeah, he's not a doctor anymore since he got tweaked down, but
he's just an apprentice.
he's Mr.
Now.
Sticks.
He lost his license.
Underworld Scourge is actually a really good example of, I think, doing it right, where it can deal with a lot of stuff, but it's never like gonna deal with something huge, but it's efficient in what it does specifically, and is like never completely useless.
Yep. Although I wish it could deal with spells and not just artifacts.
Oh, that would be crazy. They can hit path now? Oh, jeez. Can hit Namir's Blessing? Yikes. I don't know about that. 4 copies in all my mono C decks, please.
Then you get...
Actually, can also hit Hallowed Essence.
That's true. Hallowed Essence is... I'm not really sure that's like a... I'm going to play this card. It hits Hallowed Essence.
But
well, I mean, the thing is, for Mono C, because Hallowed Essence is terrible against everything except Mono C.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if Mono C has an answer to Hallowed Essence, Mono C would be
just
happy.
Bad.
Yeah, if Styx could hit spells instead of artifacts, it'd be so much better. Because how many artifacts other than like... No, there's really no artifact that he could hit that's relevant. That's not a creature, for instance.
Can I make a random comment here? Devourer of Worlds.
He can hit Vats.
Okay, Vats.
He can... Reincarnation Facility, Chalice. Or not...
I think
Reconstruction
Renovation Facility is like... Ugh. Because, I mean, they only need 1 on the board.
There's a lot of 2-cost creatures, though, that he usually ends up killing.
Yeah, that's why he has some use, because he hits the creatures, like Cavalry Field Captain, like Elvish Champion, stuff like that.
The fact that he does both is quite handy. Devourer of Worlds is another example of this. Actually, random comment. Why does Devourer of Worlds ignore spells?
Wait, what?
Like, Devourer of Worlds specifically kills creatures and artifacts, but not spells. Which is strange, because it usually results in Curse of Risha decks just going, hey, I've got 4 curses. I can devour everything else.
Yeah, it should, because it's like, again, we'd have more ways to deal with spells.
Are spells not part of the world?
Like,
I
he's
guess?
just if he's a devourer, why isn't he devouring everything?
He's a picky eater. Yeah.
But I don't think I know I can tell you that if Styx hit spells instead of artifacts, it'd be so much better.
I think there's more. Are there more spells in the game than artifacts that see active play?
For sure. I mean, because it's 2 or below. That's the thing. It's not any artifact. It's 2 cost or less. So it can't hit Lamp, for instance. Can't hit Helm. Can't hit Grand Reunion.
Because I think most spells. What is it? There's like Burning Rage, Namir's Blessing. Okay, basically all the blessings are 2 mana. Apart from like Prosperous Ruling.
Yeah.
Someone was playing Prosperous Ruling. I don't know if you ran into this.
I did not.
There was a sort of mono Dominion deck playing double Trigon levels for Djinn of Wishes and Prosperous Ruling.
That seems like a recipe for getting level fucked.
That's what we thought.
I think repeat that sentence, but just remove the level part, and you've got it right.
I think it was it Geronimo playing that? I think it was. Yes. Here you go. The DD Trigon deck. DD Trigon. Yes, a Geronimo deck. He also played Shamans, apparently. I was actually kind of surprised there were less Shamans. Oh, jeez. I'm actually curious what the metagame breakdown for this is. Someone needs to compile the deck lists. And post them all. But yeah, we'll get that later. But anyway, I think I've pretty much said all I want to. So if either of you want to rattle on a bit, go for it.
I've got nothing.
No, I'm good. I'm just here for entertainment, honestly.
And picky eaters.
Yes. I mean, other than like if we want to talk about some other possible tweaks to cards, like definitely having more answers to spells
Jeez.
would be nice. That like Devourer
Right
for
now-
sure should definitely be able to eat spells. I do agree with that.
Well,
There's
Here's
no
the funny
reason
thing.
not to.
So, I don't know if this is going into effect anytime soon, but at least in the balance team currently, I posited a bit of a suggestion which has gained some traction. Essentially, what the game's turned into right now is massive amounts of value decks, just over and over and over and over and over again. So I think the direction I suggested, and I don't know what's actually going to happen, is basically tweak down some of the value engine removal and the creatures that are designed to deal with this kind of stuff, like Flesh Sculptor, and like tombs and things like that. Because right now we've got a bit of a situation where it seems like 90% of the creatures in the game basically just have the dies tag on them, where you just play them and they're just gone before they even do anything. With a couple exceptions, like Phoenix, because Phoenix is insanely hard to kill.
Yes.
And even then he gets cleansed and helmed a lot.
So you talk about stuff like putting, let's say, a counter on tombs that can only summon so many zombies, and then it just expires.
Well, yeah, that was one of the suggestions, but some of the other stuff was just like making Flesh Sculptor legendary to stop the I have double Flesh Sculptor.
Yeah, for sure.
Congratulations, I
Double
win.
Flesh, because I mean, double Charles would be really stupid too, but that's legendary. But double Flesh Sculptor is like, well, there's no way to clear them without them getting some zombies.
And double Sculptor's worse because Charles doesn't generate spirits when it dies at the same time because of a. I still think that was worded badly, by the way. But anyway, because basically it doesn't have energy in the graveyard, so it can't do anything. Flesh Sculptor doesn't work that way. So if you Cataclysm or Zash or Dragon Assault a double Flesh Sculptor board, it
gets
usually
bigger.
doubles in size.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's not
And
cool.
there's not a lot you can do about it.
Yeah, and also don't forget Charles has limited energy too, so he can only summon so many spirits. This Flesh Sculptor just keeps on rolling, man.
I mean, the joke was always like, if you have multiple Flesh Sculptors, somehow they turn each other into zombies faster than the Armageddon hits them.
Oh yeah, they got some serious magic on their side.
They're very quick, but yeah.
If-
So it was
if you
stuff like
make-
that.
If you make Flesh Sculptor legendary, though, I'd bump it up to 3 HP or maybe 4 HP and 1 speed. Because as it is,
Yeah.
it's so squishy. Because that's kind of how you play them. Is you hold one until you've got the second one, and you can put them both down. Because if you're putting them down one at a time, they're just going to get removed immediately and never do anything, and then they're just not on curve card.
Making it into a making
But
it into
it feels like he becomes a bit too similar to Charles. Like it seems like Charles is what we want Flesh Sculptor to be, basically.
I think actually making it into like a 1/3 or a 1/4 would probably be better. Well, okay, 1/4 is actually really hard to kill, but like a 1/3, because then it's more about board insurance and less about pressure. But yeah, I see what you mean. But it was more of a suggestion. I might actually go pull up that Word document if I can find it. So Word doc was an Excel doc. I think it was an Excel doc. But anyway, there was a lot of stuff in there. Basically, just because the problem we're having right now is essentially what it's built from is the fact that Spellweaver right now does not have a rotating format because we haven't reached critical mass on cards yet.
Mm-hmm.
I don't
However-
think we will anytime soon.
We have a lot more cards in the game than it looks like compared to other card games because the Spellweaver balance philosophy is to not make everything good, but to make everything at the consideration phase for like playing. Whereas most other card games have like, we have 2,000 cards in the game, and I'm like, yes, and 3/4 of them are trash.
Yeah,
Um,
or more.
and there are design reasons for it, and I can't be bothered to go into it. Some of
I
them
think
are
they're
valid,
all.
some
I
are
think they're
not.
all garbage reasons. This whole, oh, you get to learn that certain cards are bad. Really? If it's like a vanilla understated card, you really need to learn that it's bad? Come on.
But anyway, so besides that, what we have right now is every time cards get released, you end up with the obvious one is power creep. That just happens. That's why rotating card games, that's generally why they do it, because otherwise you get the Pokemon problem, where it's just hilarious.
Oh man, yeah, it's
If anyone's curious, look up a video which is the history of the Pokemon card game, and even if you don't understand the rules at all,
just look at the numbers.
it's insane. But anyway, so that's why we have rotation in formats. However, what's happening currently is every time cards get released, because all the cards are designed to be playable, not like amazing, but playable, what's happening over time is that the average efficiency of every card in the deck is increasing. And when it happens with removal, which is what's happened currently, I think it's basically cleanse is what caused it, because it was the last thing, because it was the answer to the value engines, right?
Yep.
Like, yeah, it was the answer to all the stuff that kept all this stuff in check. Basically, when cleanse got released, decks like Mono Dominion that just ramp into removal suddenly don't have weaknesses anymore. So stuff like that happened, and I think right now, because that's going to keep going. So I think the suggestion I've made, and this is in discussion, it's not like a way we're going or anything, it's just in discussion, is to try and power down some of the efficient removal and also power down some of the answers designed to deal with the crazy efficient removal. Because it's starting to snowball a bit, where we've got
so trim down both value engines and removal, so that just creatures played from hand become more relevant.
Yeah, so that creatures that like, basically the idea is try and bring back the power curve of, because like currently we basically have three ways of going. We either have you play tons of early game creatures so that there's no way they can remove them fast enough. And then you try and kill them before turn 5, basically.
Rage Rush.
You play hyper value decks, because you've got cleanse, you've got recursion, because like the hyper value decks we're playing right now are just insane. You play that, or you play a deck where half of the time, because it's all focused in certain cards, you don't draw the combo you need, so you can't set up a board. And then the other half of the time, you play like Double Flesh Sculptor Crab, and then your opponent can't kill your board ever. And that's kind of where we're at currently. And I don't think it's the best, because it basically is putting too much power in certain cards. And that's kind of where I think it's a bit of an issue. Because it means we've got situations now where like the is it Orc Commando?
The 3/3?
Yep.
Yeah, Orc Commando. This was actually a good example. When that came out, the first response, the gut reaction from a lot of people that hadn't played it, because we did test the thing. Well, the gut reaction from people was, that's insane! And then like the 3 or 4 people that were listening to the Discord that were also in the balance team were like, no, just wait. Because, yeah, it's crazy if it gets into combat, and it never does. It doesn't live. It can't do anything.
Oh, by the way, actually, that card is much worse than I thought, because here's one interaction I didn't know about. You know how it gets ranged when it attacks a creature?
Yeah.
If you intercept it, it loses ranged and the one attack.
Huh?
Because
Really?
it's no longer attacking a creature.
I did not know that.
It's being blocked.
It's when I saw that, I thought, oh wow, never mind. 1 star.
Okay, I didn't even know about that.
That is hysterical.
That's like, the funny thing is, that's not even a bug. That's like because Spellweaver's engine runs on strict rules, which means sometimes interactions happen that are just not intended. That sounds like unintentional, but that's like the engine going, well, that's what the wording says.
Well, it's the same way when Crip attacks 3 things and you interfere with the 1 blocker, it cancels all the other attacks. It's basically
Yes.
the same idea. So yeah, you see that like, oh, well this card sucks. It's just a 3/3 with 3 speed for 3 mana, which is like not awful, but that's more like draft level card. Like an average draft card. Average to decent draft card. But that doesn't cut it in constructed.
I think it does show how far removed people's intuition is from the current state of the game, though. Where, like, you see a card like that and go, it has big numbers! And then everyone else is just like, you know that Dread Knight's not that good, right?
Yeah, speaking of like Dread Knight's got a lot of stuff going for it. Although Dobrich actually made some good use out of it, but like you see, it's a card that has no immediate effect. I mean, other than bouncing creatures back to the back row. But I mean,
Dread Knight at least like does some tempo stuff. Because I mean, like the Kainu deck, the entire Kainu deck, like every card in there either disrupts your opponent, draws a card, protects itself. And that's like one of the only mid-range decks currently.
I wonder if they could run Dread Knight. Nah, you have to go 3 aspects. Probably don't want to do that.
Too far.
There's a red-blue mid-range deck. There's a couple variants of it. Mine is 3 red, 1 blue level, but I have seen a bunch of flavors of it that just abuses all the high value in there. So Raiding Party and Phoenix and Elder, and I run Catacomb Keeper for draw. That's another solid mid-range deck.
That's a 3/3. That's not bad. You do lose 3 life though if you don't have triple red.
Yeah, that's why I go 3 red, 1 blue in my version of it.
Do you run Horizons? I'm sure you do.
Yes. Yeah, I have Horizons.
Yeah, there's another version of that playing the Life Force Essence to get more Phoenixes.
I have Life Force Essence in there.
So I'm guessing no dragons?
I have 2 dragons.
I mean, dragon is I guess you still want it to like close out games.
Yeah.
Because you kind of need it. Funnily enough, though, I don't think I've seen many silencers recently.
Good.
Okay, yes, silencer is not the most fun card to play against.
It's just depressing. It doesn't do anything interesting. It just, as far as I'm concerned, any effect which simply prevents your opponent from playing is just. It's
silencer
bad.
Silencer is basically a splitting headache that, in theory, costs the same amount of mana your opponent has to spend, but in practice, it never works that way. Yeah, silencer. Well, I think the quintessential silencer deck is Wisdom Dominion, and the other control colors have enough innate value where it feels like Wisdom's purpose is kind of dropped.
Because for me, the Wisdom control package, because it's all at freeze based, works really well in a mid range deck. So like I had a version that it's not really blue soldiers because there's no soldiers in it, but it's it has a lot of the same peripheral cards, CFC and cannon and whatnot, with a lot of freeze package in there.
Right.
That works really well until it just runs out of steam because there's no value engine. But the to me, blue is a very mid-rangey color.
Yeah. Actually, I think I might. You know what? I think I might have a tinker at some Reverence decks with blue again. Because, I don't know though. Because those decks traditionally, like, they can keep going, but what they're doing is not powerful enough to deal with any control decks. Whereas, I might have another look into it, because I think there's something there. But yeah, there's definitely space left in the meta for innovation. Although I think there were a lot less decks like diverse. There was a lot of archetype diversity within archetypes. Like the builds aren't set, which is good. But there weren't as many like different types of archetypes entirely as I was expecting this time around. Like there were a few outliers, and I'm sure once the deck like thing is compiled, there'll be like 5 or 6 like decks that only one person played, which you kind of expect. But I think there were a lot of people playing similar decks. Now, Conquest does lend itself to that with monocolor decks. Monocolor decks always amplified in Conquest, which is why if you only watched Masters and never played the game ever over the last 6 months, you'd think Monocorruption was the best deck, not close. Because it's just easy to put in lineups.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm kind of curious about the deck breakdown because I think my experience on ladder this month was very different from what we ended up seeing in Masters, which is usually the case, but I think this was even more different than normal. Because there's a lot more diversity in ladder right now, I think, than was shown. As Spellweaver has crashed on me because it's annoyed with me for staying in the deck selection screen for that long.
So much for not having that much more to say, huh, guys?
Don't get me on a tangent, because it never ends.
Hey, I'm just saying. 10 minutes ago, you said like, "Yeah, I'm done," and then like,
That was
"Oh,
20
all
minutes
of a
ago.
sudden, we're still talking."
You've got a question, Wellblade.
I do.
You may have already talked about this, but why not Burke Hero Power on Tren, the turn Dobry symbol effect? I'm not sure. Wait, can you remember the board state?
No, I mean, uh, give me a timestamp on the stream, and when I get to that point, I will rewatching it. I will answer.
That's from Vanguard.
I think Burking it. Wouldn't he have to face check like 8 damage or something to do that though? Because I think you attacked it with a bunch of stuff, but then the fireball, which you would have played off the top, would have missed it by 1. So
So when he used the symbol to make his trend big enough that it didn't die.
Yeah, it didn't die to the fireball, but then he said, why not hero power? But you have to take like 8 damage to do it.
Wouldn't you have just killed yourself?
I don't remember how much HP I had at the time.
Yeah.
You probably would have survived it, but it would have taken away most of your HP. But you would have gotten rid of it, so I suppose that's worth it. If you don't think he has burn,
Yeah.
but then you
Nate,
take
can
another
you just
2
put the
from
timestamp
fireball.
in?
Yeah,
Can you
that's-
like find the timestamp and post it? Or just send it to Wellblade. That's probably easier.
Yep.
Oh, you would have gone down to 2 life. Okay.
And I had the mana to get the clear. And
Well, yeah,
accounting for
because you had some mana left over. You just didn't have any cards in hand that would have done anything.
Go to 11.
Because I seem to recall.
No board, no cards.
Cause I thought I only had 1 mana left that I used to draw off the damage from Burning Rage.
Hmm.
But yeah, you have some healing, so maybe that would have worked. Assuming you don't kill yourself with Burning Rage.
You're probably just gonna have to check it back, because I think even if you had enough life, I don't know what the rest of the board state was.
Yeah, I'll have to. Again, when we're done here, I'm gonna finish watching the stream. I will answer Vanguard then. I don't remember enough about it at this point.
Yeah, I think specific ward state things are quite hard to remember. Oh, he's got it. That was quick.
Yeah, well, yeah, Dubricha would have gained the 8 life, but would that have really mattered?
That doesn't really matter, I don't think.
Like,
Unless he was gonna life gain victory, which I doubt
no,
was
with
ever
no
gonna
board.
happen.
Like in a Kayanu mirror, HP very rarely matters.
Hmm.
Unless one side is burst or something. But then again, if you suddenly leave one shooting sprout and they play 3 symbols of growth on it, suddenly the HP could matter.
Well, we're talking about a different game, but yeah, also relevant. Just crazy symbols on shooting
Yeah,
spells.
I did steal a game like that once, where I was totally dead to rights. I top decked the 3rd symbol. Oh, and 18-7 attacking with Unstoppable.
I think last time I went 4 points in Masters, I ended up I think I top decked double symbol in 1 turn, and that's what gave me the lethal. Like symbol is a lot of damage.
On a plant, it's 2 mana, 6 damage, and Unstoppable.
Yeah, it is.
That's why I think.
At least it doesn't give like 6 HP anymore.
No, yeah. But yeah, so the idea is that if you're playing Shepherd, you should run Symbol. Like, they have good synergy with each other.
Hmm.
And also just the shooting sprouts are really good with all the might emblems you're giving them. They become 4/3s with that guy on the board. Pretty good.
Okay.
Are you guys looking at that?
What was the timestamp?
I just linked the whole video.
Is anybody actually looking for it?
I'll find it.
I love that. It's like, hey, Nate, can you get the timestamp? It just links the whole stream. So you find it. Unless that link has a timestamp in it. It does not. Oh yeah, you can see what was going on in chat now as well
Yes.
at
you
the
can.
time. I really like that. Hmm.
I think I'm
Alright.
pretty close to it. It's like I'm at 3 hours and 5 minutes, and this is the last game. And I think
No,
it
I
happens,
didn't copy the time.
I think it happens sometime soon.
Oh, you found it. 306. Wait, 306?
Yeah, 30650.
To do it by minutes instead of hours?
Oh yeah, there it is. So yeah, he had 3 orcs on the board, the angel, and now he put a fireball on the top. He's got 9 mana. I think he plays the angel here for 2, hits Trend for 2. That heals him up to 9. Plays another one of those. Yeah, he has plenty of mana left over. He just can't play the Fire Blast in his hand because of the Trend blocking it. So is it an 8? Yeah, he would be... Oh yeah, he'd go down to 3 after this. If he hero powers it here for 2 damage or something. No, he goes down to 1 because of the Fireball. Yeah, you'd be at 1 HP, but yeah, Dobritsa would have nothing. And then your angel would activate next turn and attack. And this is where he missed the lethal, yeah.
I don't. Wait, if the trend didn't die, then it was worth it. But yeah, because going down to 1. Keep in mind there is a method of burn, which is if you get like spell removal and then burning rage comes up on something that has to be played.
Well, considering that next turn was lethal from Dobritsa, that had to be
That's
the right
true.
play.
Oh, if it was on that turn?
Yeah, that was that turn when Dobritsa missed lethal.
Okay. Then that makes sense.
So yeah, I could have cleared that. If I'd hero powered.
Huh. Didn't catch that.
I mean, I'm sure you were a bit apprehensive about taking 8 extra damage, but then you would have seen it. Wait a minute, I just die next turn.
Hmm. I like how Nate has been on this like thing for like literally an hour. It's like, hey Wild. What about this? Because I think he posted that ages ago. God, that last game was stressful. Huh. I still can't believe he missed onboard lethal. Like, come on, Dober, you're better than that.
Well,
Wait,
not only that, but by going up that 4th emblem was like really bad too.
Yeah.
I don't see it because it's the turn after I missed killing the Tren, right?
It's the turn that you missed killing the trend.
It's the turn right before he misses lethal.
It's he goes in for 8 damage and the attack
He
off.
puts you at 1.
Yeah. He doesn't have the mana to go up. He's
because
already...
he spent 2 mana on, I think, Namir's
He spent
Blessing
2
or
mana
something.
on Namir's Blessing.
He had 8 mana. He could have gotten the shrine to go to 9 mana and then 4, 5 for the 2 emblems.
Yeah, because it was up to 4.
Okay, yeah, the Namir's Blessing is what put him under.
Yeah, what happened was he actually Dobry did this a lot in the finals. And I don't know why. He kind of like had an apprehension to playing shrines. Like he would multiple turns didn't divine offering. And then went down multiple cards. And then by the end of it, he divine offering after playing a bunch of other stuff, and that actually cost him the game. It's kind of weird. I mean, I think, yeah. I mean, okay, but yeah, playing for 4 hours straight when you've got people watching, etc., it does get to you.
Oh yeah.
Especially if you're playing stuff you're not used to, which is why I found it kind of. I mean, that's why I mentioned earlier where it was kind of funny that like whenever people are playing decks they're comfortable with, it's fine because it's like muscle memory basically. But when you're playing a deck you're not used to, and you're also stressed out about it, you start making mistakes, and then you always get the like. There's like the 3 to 5 people in chat that you respect that are allowed to call you out on misplays. And then there's like the 5 people who think that they're allowed to call you out on misplays. Without realizing what it's like to be in that situation.
Yep. Yeah. I don't watch the streams of me when I'm playing. I'll have them like I have the official stream and Love Giant up just so that when I have time I can scout other decks.
Yeah.
But when, if it's showing me, I'll go back and watch it and, boost my ego once it's over. But while it's happening, that's muted and minimized. I can't pay attention to people chirping.
Even if it's 10 minutes in the past.
Even if it's 10 minutes in the past.
It's still good to go over these games because you'll find that when you actually watch yourself play, you'll think in your mind, you'll make different plays than you did actually. You're like, wait, why didn't I just do that?
That happens all the time. I used to. That was actually that's why I started streaming originally. That was Hearthstone originally, but that's actually why I started streaming, was because it like forced me to record all my games and tournaments. Because I could never be bothered to record games and then go back and watch them. Whereas when they were on stream, it's like, oh, the video's already there. But yeah. Anyway, Ginger. That's why I shut my mouth when I see misplays.
What are you saying, bro?
The humility knows no bounds. Oh, that's funny. I mean, after trolling Sasha for like a good 10 minutes. Oh, jeez.
The psychology of competition is real, though. I experience this a lot in chess, too.
Oh, yeah, because you play quite a bit of chess, haven't you?
Oh, I play like 20, 30 games a day.
Jeez.
But a lot of them are like 1 minute bullet, so doesn't always count. And some of them are not even chess; they're like variants of chess.
How can you ever finish a chess game in a minute?
Oh, I mean, you play extremely super duper fast. Like, I would agree. So Sasha says 1 minute bullet is not chess, and he's not entirely wrong because this does change. Like, the structure of the game is different. Like, it matters less who's ahead in material, for instance, because we're just like, if you may be winning, but it's hard to actually convert, and you just lose your focus, and you just run out of time. Oh, by the way, this 1 minute chess is online only. Don't try this in real life.
Oh yeah, stuff would just go flying.
Yeah, like in real life, there's no such thing as playing a chess game without delay or increment, because you can just have the situation where people are like rushing and knocking pieces over. It's really bad. But in online, like that kind of fixes itself. And also there's pre-move, which helps a lot, which means you can make 10 moves a second. And that's sometimes too slow. But yeah, the point is that when you're there, when everything is on the line, you see a move that's decent and safe, you're likely to do that even if there is a better move that's a bit riskier, because it costs so much more energy to try to look through, and if you're wrong and you throw the game, you're gonna hate yourself.
This is not chess.
Yes, but the psychology is very similar. Well, you can miss the best moves because you're more worried about you losing maybe than you are about finding the best optimal play.
Actually, that happened. I can't remember who it was earlier, but we had a game where it went an extra like 3 or 4 turns because the person that they had won. There was like no way they could lose at all. I think it was impossible, but they just didn't attack. And sometimes that actually costs you, because sometimes it feels wrong to like attack because it feels dangerous, and it's weird because strangely enough, I've actually noticed this where the more experienced the player is, the less they attack when they should.
It's because they know what the counters are. So like somebody that's just started, it's a similar example of when to hold creatures in hand and when not to. New players, they don't know that Kata is a thing. They don't know when Kata is coming, so they're never going to be afraid of Kata, so they will always play. Whereas, this is something that I've seen Vanguard do a fair bit on his stream, is he'll spend 4 or 5 turns going, I got to hold back because of Suffocate, when they're not even running Suffocate. And, sometimes he still wins and sometimes he doesn't, but he could have ended the game, 2-3 turns earlier if he wasn't so scared of Suffocate.
Yeah.
And it's just, when you're experienced enough that you can look at 3 cards in their hand and know there's a decent chance that one of those is a Cataclysm or a Suffocate or whatever, that's when you start overplaying around it.
You start seeing
That-
ghosts.
It happens a lot against Pacify, I've seen, where like, first off, most of the time you assume they don't have Pacify because unless it's one turn heal, no one plays Pacify.
Mm-hmm.
Then you run into the first one,
Yeah, and
and then there's like a shock where like people just stop attacking, and I'm like, no, he still has it in hand. Like
Yeah.
you have to get him to play it at some point.
Yeah, I mean, if they have Pacify attack into it, that's the only thing you can do.
Yeah, unless like they have a board state where if you attack and they pacify, but that's like tempo mechanics instead of, oh look, it's a control deck. I have 5 creatures. He's gonna pacify my big guy, and I'm like, he's going to do that anyway. Just you have to make him do it, because it's not free. He still plays a card. But yeah, Vanguard, first time I've ever been accused of being too cautious. The aggro player himself. I think Vanguard's known for being the aggro player. I think that's his thing, which is kind of funny. Because, like, depending on who you ask, I think I'm known for being more mid-rangey. Although, ironically, I think I play more control decks nowadays. But, yeah, Nate's known for playing, like, triple aggro. That's his thing. And then...
Wait,
like, some people-
whatever happened to Senelian? I thought he was part of this.
Oh, yeah, I thought he was playing. Did he not play in the end?
I don't think he played.
That's a shame.
So we had how many people who didn't show up? Like 3 or 4?
Wait, how many golden
yeah,
tickets were there?
where did all these extra people come from?
Why, this came up... Alright, so Cruel didn't play because he forgot Masters was on.
Yeah. Vanguard didn't
Still
play.
Vanguard didn't play because he never does. Senelian was on
Senelian
the list
didn't
and didn't
play.
play. So,
That's 3 people.
we've got 18 golden tickets.
At least, yeah.
Wait. Oh no, they're just open ladder, the 3 there. So there were 18 golden tickets. How did that happen? Was there a 4th golden qualifier?
Oh, okay, we'll get an answer in chat. Ifco said that 18 tickets were awarded by mistake. And it actually resulted in a better Masters!
That is playing with fire.
But come on, we've never have a full Masters, like never. You could
because-
hand out 17 tickets and never run into problems.
Well, yeah, because Nate would never show up. You could give 17 golden tickets regularly. You could just remove Vanguard's like eligibility for golden tickets, and you just have a higher chance of getting a 16-player Masters. Oh jeez. Funny thing though, because I remember, yeah, because well, I mean, I dropped out of top 10, so I wasn't given one because I was casting for this one. I needn't have bothered.
Yeah, apparently not.
There's already like 18 golden tickets anyway. Nate never shows up. I'm casting, so I can't use mine. There you go. We're back to 16.
I know what they could do is they could just give out the golden tickets to top 12 ranked, but the 11 and 12 get like kicked out if they can't.
I kind of like the idea of giving, because we talked about this earlier. I kind of like the idea of giving 11th and 12th like 2 reserve tickets where they can sign up to Masters, and then if there is a spot, then the 11th place gets it first, and then the 12th place gets it.
Yeah, they would regularly be getting in.
They would be. I mean, okay, it's a bit stressful, but like, you don't have to use them. Like, I'd be kind of interested in seeing that actually. Yeah, that might actually be a good idea. Just because we'd get more 16-player Masters, I think.
Yeah, that would be good.
Because usually, what's the average? We usually get like 13, 14?
12, I think, is the average. Maybe 13. We've had some with like 8. No, I think 9 was the lowest. That was something. I thought it wasn't going to fire.
How do you get 9 people?
I don't know what happened.
So, wait, so 7 people were like, I'm going to get a golden ticket. I'm not going to use it.
Apparently, or maybe it was 8. I'm not sure. Maybe it was 9, but then somebody dropped.
That's bad. Yeah, most of the time we get 4. Have we ever had a? No, it has to be 4 rounds, right? It's locked at 4.
Yes.
Yes, it can't be 3. I think it's always 4. We've had a few massive 3-way ties though, 4-way ties.
2 of them exactly. One won by
Wow.
Send Jesus, the other by Vanguard, I believe.
Send Jesus. Oh yeah, I remember that. Whole beat Vanguard and then lost.
Yeah, I thought that was a bit lame.
That was weird. Like, I know he'd already lost a match, but it was so funny to watch. It's like, Hole, you beat Vanguard, and then came
Because it
second
meant that
behind
Vanguard had already won at the start of round 4, and it's like we were watching it for nothing.
Yeah, he basically didn't need to play, because I think it was impossible for him to lose tie breaks at that point. I remember watching that, and I was just like, oh, well that happened. Yeah, that always gets weird. This is why you should always just win all your games. That's the way around it. Just it doesn't matter if there's like a possibility of tie breaks. Just win 4 games. You're fine.
Yep.
Yeah, that eliminates any of that.
It's easy. It's not difficult. Not at all. 8 players, no 3-pointers. What? That doesn't make any sense.
There has to be a 3-pointer. Like, there's no way you would have no 3-pointers.
4.2222221. That's weird.
Oh, he means there was a 4-pointer, but no actual 3-pointers. Okay.
Yeah, it went 4.222222221.
That can happen.
That's bizarre. So he must have been 3-0 and got paired with a 2-1 and then won that game. That's weird. Huh. Well, we can now say that Duel has won a Masters by the largest margin.
Seems fair.
The least significant statistic in the entire Masters catalog. I needed to win 1. Oh, so you won 1 game in that best of 3, and that's what did it. Ah, that's so stupid. I remember that being dumb at the time. Still dumb now. Alright. Well, I'm done for tonight. So...
Yeah, I need to get going as well.
Yep. Well, thanks for watching, everyone.
Yeah.
This was actually fun. This is the first Masters I've ever cast.
I'd say you did a pretty solid job.
Well, okay, I wasn't exactly expecting you to go, you were terrible. That would have been quite impressive.
No, I mean, like, you seemed like you were just in your element the whole time.
I've done a lot of casting before, just never like Spellweaver. So it was kind of nice to be back in the thick of things. Well, album is on hiatus for now. But yeah. But anyway, thanks for having me on.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna head out as well. I'll catch everybody later.
Yeah.
Oh. Thanks for watching, guys.
Until next time.
Erratic waving.